They are filthy, corrupt, disgusting, lawless predators. As usual, that was my 15th hearing, by the way, in 2.5 years. The court is totally corrupt and lawless. They're unable to obey a single law. He heard the case, was smart-ass and arrogant the way he's always been, had absolutely no regard for the law.
Police tackled one protester to the ground.
They're going to make some shit up on me, mate, because I stood up to them.
Police marched Dezi Freeman to the police station as crowds of supporters swarmed around him.
Defend me, guys. We outnumber these scum. We have a right of self-defence against these terrorist criminals. Why is he under arrest? Why? Everyone knows that these scumbags are butthurt because they're obsessed with power.
They are filthy, corrupt, disgusting, lawless predators who seem to get some thrill out of messing with people's lives. So, people of Australia, every one of you, start arresting and prosecuting these criminals.
2 police officers are dead and another has been injured after an incident in the regional Victorian town Paul-Punker. The ABC has confirmed that news. Police officers are at the scene about 300 kilometres northeast of Melbourne. The public is being warned to stay away from the area.
Returning now to our breaking news on the police shooting in regional Victoria. Live to our reporter Laura Turner. Laura, what more information do we know at this stage?
Well, this is unfolding as an extremely serious situation. What we know is that 2 police officers have been shot dead in what is now a siege situation at Paul-Punker, which is near Bright and south of Albury. There are also fears for another officer, and this has happened while police officers were executing a search warrant at this property at Paul-Punker in the last hour or so. Special Operations Group officers are on the way to this property as we speak. It's happened at the base of Mount Beauty in Victoria's Alpine region, a very significant police scene unfolding, and there's been reports of ambulances screaming through that tourist town of Bright in the past hour or so, and all emergency services heading to that property right now. But just repeating, it was a search warrant that has apparently gone awry, and now a siege situation with 2 police officers shot dead.
Radical US-based anti-authority movement now behind 2 police tragedies on Australian soil. Alleged killer Dezi Freeman is a self-declared sovereign citizen, the same concerning ideology behind the Wierenvilla attack. What is a sovereign citizen?
So the language of sovereign citizen came from the United States out of a confluence of right-wing anti-government extremist groups. Basically now, they're here in Australia. We call them pseudo-law adherents. They believe that if they don't consent to the laws passed by Parliament, they don't need to follow them.
I understand they have a hatred of authority, but
it's much broader than just police. It's really any state authority that engages with the public. So local government, I suppose, are the intersection between citizens and the state most directly. You see them in traffic offences or police stops in cars, and of course serving warrants. So really that's the most difficult intersection.
On Tuesday the 26th of August 2025, Australia was faced with the shocking news of 2 dead cops gunned down by Dezi Freeman at Paul-Punker, Victoria. A man who was quickly labelled in the media as a sovereign citizen, Dezi killed 2 cops in cold blood, attempted to kill another one but only injured them, and then tried to kill another one but failed on account of his gun jamming. So how did Dezi get the jump on 4 coppers? Perhaps Dezi knew that they were coming. Perhaps Dezi was at the belief that they were coming to kill him. Perhaps whoever sent them there knew that Dezi Freeman was the kind of man to start shooting. Then there are some that say the whole thing is fake and it was completely staged from top to bottom. Strangely enough though, that same day of the Paul-Punker shootings just happened to also be the same day another narrative was being pushed by Australian mainstream media. The same outlets long operating under the quiet direction of ASIO. The story? That so-called foreign actors were paying Australian criminals to commit acts of arson and graffiti on Jewish-owned properties and synagogues. A convenient explanation, one that shifted blame on a convenient enemy. The official story, neat and unquestioned. The Australian government claimed that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, was behind the attacks, and as an immediate response, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese expelled the Iranian ambassador out of the country. And where did this so-called intelligence come from? Straight from Israel's Mossad, handed directly to ASIO. Convenient, isn't it? The perfect source, the perfect story. Just long enough to make headlines without anyone daring to question what's really going on. Anyone that was likely to question that narrative was too busy keeping up with the unfolding Dezi Freeman Sov Cit crisis that was playing out in real time. The reason for such a distraction? The horrors and suffering taking place in Gaza at the hands of the Zionist genocide machine was at tipping point, and the Australian government was on the verge of having to save face in the public eye and was about to condemn Israel for the ruthless, cold-blooded culling of the people of Palestine. Not only that, but the Zionist lobbyists here in Australia who secretly pull the strings of the Australian government was losing control of the narrative and therefore resorted to the false flag attacks on their own synagogues and businesses and landing the blame squarely on Iran, therefore regaining control of the narrative and continuing with the genocide in Gaza. All the while, the sovereign citizen buzzwords were being repeated in every news headline. The Sov Cit psyop was hitting maximum effect because the seeds to that operation had begun being sown a long time before we all knew the name Dezi Freeman.